Today we're going to do a 5,000 kilometer update on my ADV 160. How it's been, go over the specs again. Am I keeping it? Am I changing it? What's my thoughts? So with that said, good afternoon, Mayong Hapon, Maganda Hapon, and let's get on with it. So my ADV 160. So my ADV 160 is the Crater Matte White, which is quite a nice colour. It gets very dirty very easily. It's an absolute nightmare to keep clean, to be honest with you. I've not really made any changes on it since I got it, or the initial upgrades, but we'll go through them a little later on. So for those that don't know the specs of an ADV 160, the ADV 160, it's 157cc, they call it an adventure scooter. I've had it a little bit too much off-road of late, and it's handled not bad. I've got into trouble once or twice, but generally speaking, when I say off-road, dirt tracks, mucky tracks, rocky tracks, nothing proper off-road, but off-road enough that it's not concrete or cemented or tarmac roads around here. But yeah, generally speaking, the bike has looked after me. So specifications, back to that. 157cc, single cylinder, 4 valve. It's 11.3 kilowatts of power, which I believe is 15.8 horsepower. I believe it kicks out 14.3 or 7 newton meters of torque. It's not exactly going to set the world on fire, but for Philippine roads it's plenty. It'll easily do 123 kilometers an hour. Might be a bit vibraty by that point, but generally speaking, I can it cruises nicely at 90 to 100 easily, and still returns a good fuel economy. Speaking of fuel, on average, since I got it, I've done 5,220 something kilometers. Let's just have a little look. So at present, it's done 5,236 kilometers with an average lifetime fuel economy of 42.9 kilometers per litre. Now that's made up of various different types of driving: city driving, long rides, chill rides, sitting about 90 to 100 a lot of the time on faster rides. So that's not a bad fuel return, actually, considering the varied types of riding. I've really enjoyed this bike so far, coming from a PCX. I've actually enjoyed this bike an awful lot more than my PCX. I just think it's got a better weight balance all round. It's got front wavy disc with ABS. It's got rear round disc, and the rear wheel's got the Honda selectable torque control, traction control in other words. It has got me out of trouble a little bit now and again. Does the job. Shower suspension with sub tanks on the rear, shower shocks on the front as well, not inverted though. Surprised Honda haven't went down that road, because all the Chinese manufacturers seem to be. Ground clearance wise, which was the main reason I got the motor, is 165 millimeters, whereas the PCX was 135 millimeters. So might not sound a lot, 30 mil, but it's quite a bit of difference when you're on roads that aren't quite roads. So yeah, that has made a big difference. Weight wise, I think the stock weight is 133, 134 kilograms. By the time you add top box, bits and bobs in the top box, bits and bobs in your U-box, crash guards, etc. It's probably sitting in the low 140s now. Still more than manageable. It's actually quite a nice balanced weight as well. I actually really like it. So the total changes I've made since I've had this bike have been the seat, which I've done straight away, mainly because I used this seat on an endurance ride on my PCX. So I got one for the ADV, which is a K&O camelback seat. Absolutely love this seat, swear by it. So comfortable on long rides, lack of back pain, which does make a massive difference. Motowolf camera mount, Motowolf phone holder with USB and wireless charging. Have crash guards, which are Makoto, I believe. They've handled up quite well with Motowolf little bumpers on them. Senlo X6s for auxiliary lights, which I had on the PCX also. Really like them. Shoe extender for the side stand. I did have a Makoto scuff plate underneath the engine. It didn't last longer than a month. I must have caught something when I was kind of not on a concrete or cemented road. But whatever, it ripped off, and yeah, 1 month it lasted, so I won't bother replacing that. And SEC Q3 top box bracket, SEC plastic top box, 45 litre, and I think that's the only things I've done to this bike. It's predominantly stock. The only changes I have made since my initial review is I did make one little modification to the auxiliary lights. I did put a wigwag on them. Very good actually in fog, especially when you get up the Marilog road. And the other difference I made was I fitted a OEM passing switch as well. I did have a little round one on it at first, but it just kept getting dirt inside it and sticking. I was going down the highway one day, not realising my flashing lights were jammed on. So yeah, that was a bit of a surprise. But yeah, overall, generally speaking, I absolutely love the ADV 160. I'd highly recommend it to anybody. So tyre wise, I still have the stock tyres on it, the Federal tyres. They're wearing not too badly. It's probably a good few thousand kilometers left in those. For stock tyres, they're actually not too bad. Compared with the PCX's tyres, they were absolutely rubbish in the rain. These have actually not been too bad in the rain. I will replace them probably at some point in the next couple of thousand kilometers. Whether I go for Corsa, Michelin's, or Corsa are made by Michelin, I believe, as well, or Beast, I really don't know. Time will tell. Fuel, 8.1 litre fuel tank and an average of 42.9 over the life, which is, like I said earlier, really good. I'm happy with that anyway. It was kind of what I was getting with my PCX as well. So happy with that. Overall, considering I've done 5,000 kilometers in a short period, I mean, I've only had this ADV maybe two and a half months, Been on that many long rides, making videos for YouTube. Yeah, overall, would I recommend the ADV to anybody? Absolutely. I think it's an absolutely brilliant little motor. Great scooter, twist and go, no hassle in the traffic, especially when you get to Davao City and it's busy. It's just so easy to weave in and out the traffic. It's decent on fuel, it's not too heavy. The PGMFI, yeah, the fuel injection and the engine, the ESP Plus engine, it's actually quite a good little package, and it works really well. It does not too bad in dirt tracks, does not too bad in mucky roads, and it does not too bad in kind of gravelly roads. So yeah, overall I'm really impressed with it. I was actually out looking at another motor on my last video. If you haven't watched that, there'll be a link at the end of the video. I did go and have a look at another motor, and I came very close to pulling the trigger and buying it, which was a proper motorbike with proper gears, manual gears. But after riding this in Davao, it's just so much easier and less hassle get up and down the gears. Can you really go much faster in the Philippines and Mindanao? Certainly not really. You see a lot of speed guns out these days. The traffic's pretty congested in the cities. Yeah, once you're out on the highways like the Buda Davao National Highway, one of my favourite roads, absolutely love that road with all the twisties. Yeah, you can pick the speed up on that road, but I would never condone overspeeding, which is why I tend not to overspeed. So yeah, really great bike, I love it. So long and short it is, no, I am not going to be changing my ADV anytime soon. I'm going to keep it. I'll probably keep it until I do about 50,000 on it, and then the likelihood is, depending on what comes out between now and then, hopefully the new road sync version of the ADV 160 will be out, and I may change it to that, or I may change it to the other bike that I was looking at just recently. So yeah, so that's my ADV 160. Really like it. I like the keyless function for the most part. Sometimes I have got a bit of a bad habit of leaving the ignition switched on. Thankfully I've never drained the battery, and the battery's still sitting up at a nice healthy charge rate of 14.4, 14.5, so the battery's still healthy. It's had quite a few PMSs and it's short life. I've had the engine oil done 3 times, gear oil done twice, and despite the CVT wasn't due cleaning, I did get the CVT cleaned the other day, and I was quite surprised. It was filthy, absolutely filthy. There was so much dust in it and dirt, it was beyond belief. And the roller balls are actually starting to get a lot of wear on them as well, probably the way I ride it. So next PMS I will most likely change the rollers. That will just be an engine oil change, so it'll be engine oil and rollers. But overall it's cheap to maintain, it's a very nice motor, and I'd highly recommend it to anyone. So that's it for now. The next video, we're back to long rides. I'm off to Cotabato City. I'm going to meet a friend that I met on the Calayan Loop endurance ride, and he's going to take us around Cotabato. There'll be a couple of us going, and we'll go and see the Pink Mosque, the Grand Mosque, the Barm Compound, the People's Palace, get some Arabic food, and yeah, so that's what's coming up in the next video. So until the next video, take care, and I'll see you in the next vid. Bye bye.